Charlie Dimmock,
Boys!
the Rich Brothers, and the Garden Rescue Team have a treat in store.
Too much entertainment.
They have come to the rescue of hundreds of British gardens. Now it's time to look back and pick their favourites.
This looks really cool. Fabulous.
As they celebrate the very best.
I don't like it. Huh? I love it.
From extraordinary eco-gardens to exotic designs.
Oh my gosh, no way.
Gardens inspired by people.
Is this the garden that you dreamed of?
It is. Absolutely.
Well, I think that's a thumbs up.
And places.
It's the most beautiful garden I've ever been in.
Therapeutic spaces.
Wow.
And the most extraordinary transformations.
Whoa. It is perfect.
Yeah, come on. I want it.
Welcome to Garden Rescue.
Top of the plots.
Right, Chaz, what are we up to today?
Therapeutic gardens. There is something about a garden. It makes you feel happy. If you're not feeling great, it can cheer you up. It can relax you. They're fantastic for that.
Yeah, very true. I think there's no better place than to unwind in your own individual area.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, gardens just bring back so many memories. As a child, family, friends, parties, even the scent of a plant. You could suddenly be back somewhere, memory.
Absolutely.
All our gardens are a labour of love, but our Top of the Plot's therapeutic transformations celebrate spaces that create happiness, bring a sense of calm and remind us of fond memories. Like Anita's garden in Fallowfield, which was planted by her late husband and was in need of bringing back to its former glory.
We moved here in 1969, and we moved because we wanted a big garden for the children. It didn't have a single blade of grass, it didn't have a single leaf. Everything in this garden my husband planted, and it was a beautiful garden. For my husband's sake, I want to make it lovely again.
Anita wanted the overrun patch to be transformed into a fitting tribute to her late husband.
Anita, Sarah.
And Charlie's plan for a woodland garden with hints of the Japanese design that she loved.
Wow.
Captured her heart.
I have opened up the garden down to a little patio area near to your pond. But then what I'm doing with the rest of the garden is really what I would call proper gardening to restore the shrubs back to their beauty.
The plot was so overgrown that it takes all the muscle they have for the landscaping team to get it back to its old self.
Let me have a go first, see if I can do it.
And as the space begins to take shape, Carpenter Lee gets stuck into custom-made planters with built-in seats so Anita can garden in comfort.
Perfect.
Look at that clown.
Come in, my new car, Andy.
Oh, very good, Lee. I like it. Very good. But back to work.
The garden has run so wild that Anita's husband's pride and joy, a koi carp pond, is completely lost in the undergrowth. So Charlie sets the boys to finding it.
Oh, look at that. It's huge, isn't it? It goes back so far. All right, Dave, I feel like that's where I've got to go.
Right, hold on. Let me just monkey clip you there.
Don't go falling in.
Oh, that's a strong belt. Oh.
While the brothers clear the pond, Charlie brings some TLC to the overgrown shrubs and bushes.
When you have a garden like this that's sort of overgrown, you sort of panic, and the first thing you think of doing is going, let's take everything out. By doing that, you actually end up losing some really nice plants. Now, this is just a basic laurel. It's a hedging plant, really, and it's just a big mass. But what I'm going to do is actually prune it and take away the bottom areas so it ends up like a multi-stemmed shrub or small tree. I have loppers. They're really good, and these are ratcheted ones, so it makes chopping things much easier. And then a pruning saw. So I don't know whether you can see, down over the back there, there's like a branch system. So I want to sort of expose that. And it's a case of cut a bit, step back, look.
The golden rule for pruning any plant is the 3 Ds. Remove anything that's dead, damaged or diseased. If you're reshaping, remove branches that cross or which are growing back towards the centre.
Mr. Rich and Mr. Rich, sweetie pies, do you may I have your able bodies down here?
No.
Yeah. So, yeah, off we go, off we jolly well go.
I'll keep us busy today. We just we're like the donkeys.
No, you're my slaves today, you are.
Charlie doesn't just want to trim the garden back to its glory days. Inspired by Anita's love of Oriental design, she wants to introduce new features that'll make it a relaxing and therapeutic space to spend time in.
Anita has really fond memories of how the garden was many years ago, and especially the koi pond with the moving water. So I thought it'd be really lovely to get some moving water up this end of the garden where she sits most of the time. Very simple, gentle noise, but to pick up that sort of Oriental theme, we're using this lovely black bamboo, and we're going to make a sort of like a rill. So the water's going to run down into this, into that, and then drop into a bowl, and then just gently overflow. So it'll just be a very soft noise. Yeah, like that. I mean, it'd be nice if there's a bit of a drop. When you're doing a water feature, test it all before you put all the pebbles and everything in position, because water doesn't always go where you expect it to go.
Come in.
Shall we turn the pump on then? Very exciting.
That's a nice noise.
The water feature's up and running, and Charlie's ready to add the plants.
I'm using some what I would call really traditional Oriental plants. We've got this hosta, and then we've got this anemone wild swan. The Japanese and Chinese love anemones. They say sort of spring and summer, and it's just a very simple flower. So I'm not going to put too much in these raised beds.
A dressing of pebbles and moss disguises the reservoir, and the water feature is done. The rejuvenated garden is coming together. A relaxing, therapeutic meditation space is made by the pond.
How's that look?
That looks fantastic there. Yeah, I wouldn't take it any further in.
Cool.
Because that square looks like it's in the centre of the patio.
How ideal. There we are. Roll out the turf.
A new lawn is laid. The raised beds are planted up.
These alliums are just going to stand proud, really bold, and draw your eye straight down to the bottom of the garden.
And finally, the bound gravel path is put down and the garden is complete. Before, Anita's garden was overgrown and wild, but now it has been transformed into a therapeutic space in which she can sit and be reminded of her late husband. But what will she think?
Do you want to open your eyes?
Oh, wow. What do you think, Nana? Wow. Oh, my goodness. Look at this. It's Oriental like you wanted. Look.
So you said you loved the pond, but there was so much wildlife in it, we didn't want to disturb it too much. So we thought a little bit of water outside your back door.
That's beautiful.
It's so wonderful.
This garden, which holds so many happy memories for Anita, is transformed into a tranquil space that'll give her peace and solace for many years to come.
It's absolutely stunning, and my late husband would be so happy, wouldn't he, and proud.
His garden's back.
It's just a wonderful magic experience.
Now, this hedge has already had its formative pruning, unlike Nita's in Manchester. So it's already got its shape there, and this is called cloud clipping, and you can see why, because it looks like those lovely white fluffy clouds you see on a summer's day. And once you've got your hedge formed, it's then just a case of keeping it neat and tidy. So it's little light prunings, maybe twice a year with box and you're just snipping off this soft growth. So if you put your hand and push against it, you can feel where the resistance is, and it's just snipping it down like that. And what you have to remember with box especially is that you take away all those cuttings, because you want the air to circulate round the shrub. If not, you're more likely to get box blight. And you'll notice on this hedge, they've cleared the base so it lets the air circulate up through the shrub as well, definitely stopping any chance of disease. And there's something quite therapeutic about giving this hedge a light haircut. And gardens are therapeutic. And that leads us on to our next garden, which was for Michelle and Alistair and their 2 daughters who are autistic. And they wanted a garden that was fun for them, stimulate them mentally as well as physically.
Our next top of the plots therapeutic garden was in Aylesbury. It was tiny and not fit for purpose.
The fencing that we've got here, it's not stable. They don't like it from going from like an uneven patio up a step into an uneven surface of grass. It can unsteady them.
The only joy for the girls was their trampoline, which had to stay. Other than that, Alistair and Michelle just wanted a safe play space.
I think I've done that.
And Charlie trumped the boys with a sensory garden that maximised on the children's must-have feature.
I've gone a bit mad here. In-ground trampoline,
Oh, wow.
bigger than that one.
Are we good? That's it. Here's Johnny.
It's a difficult space to work in,
Stand it up here.
but the team waste no time in getting started.
Right, so we're in.
Right, so this is it. This is it, lads.
Compact and bijou.
Yeah, compact and bijou.
Apart from the shed, the family don't wish to keep anything in the garden. Michelle was worried about the unsafe fence, so that's one of the first things to go.
Simples. There we go. Sounds like my back, that is.
And with the main clearing done, Charlie gets to work on bringing interest to the space with a clever bit of recycling.
To get a lot more colour in, I'm going to make a bit of a collage of these paint pots. You know, all those pots you've got in the back of the shed and in the garage. How about making a bit of a collage with it? 1. Many more to go. Paint not quite dry in that one. Oops.
If you don't have a shed full of empty paint cans, you can get all you need with a trip to the local recycling centre.
It's lovely.
I like it.
Do it. Get it done.
Yeah!
That's a win.
You 2 look like twins.
Ooh, thanks a lot.
To create more sensory fun and colour, David's building the girls an outdoor noughts and crosses board.
And the beauty of this game is literally just collecting some nice pebbles. So we've got a bag of pebbles, and the ones I've picked out of that bag are the ones that are nicely rounded, and they're going to fit in the palm, be nice and textural, and be easy to play with.
Once the pebbles have been spray painted, they just need to dry for a few minutes.
So now that the pebbles have dried, I'm going to make the yellow ones into bumblebees, and I make the red ones into ladybirds. So I've just got some black paint. And it's going to be as simple as giving them a little bit of a face and then giving them stripes or dots. That looks like a bumblebee's head to me.
But Charlie is keen to get this worker bee back to work.
Look at this, all the plants in the gardens brought in all the bumblebees.
Yeah, we do need to
Get moving. I'm in a slow
pergola.
pace.
No slow pace, no snail pace. We want wasp pace.
OK, what?
Yeah.
Done. Yeah, good. I'm
Yeah.
off. I'm on. Only a few more to do.
Exercise is great for mental and physical well-being. so Charlie's opted for a large sunken trampoline. The first 3 corners are always straightforward enough.
Yeah!
But when it comes to the last, it's putting up a bit of a fight, and an epic battle ensues between man and trampoline.
It's the wobble, isn't it? It's the wobble. Hold on, if I get hooked in.
This tricky customer cost a cool £1,000. Smaller sunken trampolines start at about £500.
You hold that. Hold that. There you are. Now.
Although installation may always be a struggle.
Oh, I was probably doing quite a lot more, wasn't I, than you?
Hold on. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, boy. Hold it there, boys! Hold it firm! Hold it steady! Yeah!
Too much entertainment.
The girls' autism means they can have difficulty processing the sights, sounds and smells they encounter. So to help with this, Charlie introduces therapeutic plants to the garden.
So this is going to be the sensory area. So bamboos are great because when they sort of blow around in the breeze, they make a lovely rustling sound. And I'm going to pop it just about here. So it sort of screens the pots, but not too much. But it also sort of envelops this area. So I can see them up here doing a bit of painting, maybe just having a natter and playing a game. So I think this will make this a really gorgeous area. And we've got some other sensory plants here. So these are lamb's ears or stackies. They feel really, really soft. And then they have the sort of little spikes of pink flowers. And they'll also sort of trail over the border and soften the edge. Then we're going to have some other grasses in here and some arabis to give a bit of colour, maybe some primroses. Little girls like primroses, even if you just pick the flowers and throw them around. So it will look lovely.
It's the home straight. Charlie has a few last tricks up her sleeve to make sure there will be far more to this garden than simply a trampoline. David and Harry are planting up fragrant thyme and wild strawberries between the colourful stepping stones. While Lee is adding a sensory screen to the pergola.
So I thought the girls would love this. It's like... And it does also screen, and it sort of picks up the granite, the silvers. Quite fun, I think.
And with that, the family's small garden is remade into a space packed with the sensory stimulation that's so important to the girls' well-being.
1, 2, 3, open your eyes.
I love it!
Whoa! Well, I think that's a thumbs up.
Well, it was fantastic to see their reaction to their new garden and great to see them getting stuck in straight away. Now we're going to look at how to create a sensory herb garden.
We're going to be using some really beautiful plants, ones that kick up a really nice aroma. And because this planting bed is positioned right outside the kitchen, that's not only functional for coming out and picking them, but actually it means that the smells are going to be wafted into the house on a warm summer breeze.
If you love your cooking, we've got rosemary, which is a must-have. We've also got some lemon thyme and some chives.
Got mint, gorgeous smelling, really versatile in cooking. And actually, this smell for me, is, maybe for Harry, is very nostalgic. So it reminds me of an old apple tree in our grandparents' garden, which the mint had run wild below it. So that's really sweet. But you need to remember not to plant it close to others because it does spread. So put it in its own isolated bed or in its own pot.
While David plants up, our next therapeutic garden provided a calming reminder of Yolanda and Avinda's family.
Since Yolanda and Arvinda moved to their South London home, the family have been through a difficult time. They were expecting triplets, and about 5 months into the pregnancy, it became clear that one of the 3 babies a little boy they later named Jay, wasn't growing as expected.
At week 27, we found out that he passed away.
That was an incredibly traumatic time
difficult,
for us.
Very difficult.
We were terrified.
Their twins are now active 18-month-old toddlers, and Yolanda and Arvinda want their garden to be a therapeutic area for them, but also a place to remember the son they lost.
We'd love for our garden to be a space where our children can run around and play, and also it'll be a beautiful space for a memorial for their brother.
The Rich Brothers design was the one that captured the couple's heart.
We want to introduce 3 trees, which is going to pay respects to the 3 kids.
Yeah, 3 is our magic number.
Yeah.
When they arrive, the landscaping team's first job is to move the garden shed.
Push harder.
Whoa. Oh.
Before making short work of clearing the overgrown space. And when the Rich Brothers join in, planting the 3 trees representing the triplets is David's first job.
We had to choose some really special trees, some really eye-catching trees for this garden to symbolise the 3 children. So we've chosen these cherries, Prunus cerula, or Tibetan cherry, and they're gorgeous. They're a small tree, so they won't grow too much larger than 6 metres. And because it's multi-stemmed as well, it has more of a natural branching out growth rather than trying to grow really tall. Its leaves have a beautiful autumn colour. There's also a single flower blossom, quite soft white pink, really delicate and understated. It's all about the bark. This copper-coloured satin, almost metallic-like bark. Beautiful.
A fitting reference to the children. The trees will change dramatically over the seasons and help create a therapeutic ambience perfect for reflection and contemplation.
Tibetan cherries are the perfect tree for this garden because they like a lot of sun. When you put them in, don't overwater them because their roots don't like getting too wet. How does it look for me, Harry?
Yeah, good. You not so good.
Charlie is working on the play area for the twins at the bottom of the garden.
David and Harry want me to sort of try and get the twins excited and involved in the garden. So what I thought is use some old wellies as containers. You can basically turn anything into a container as long as it holds some compost and there's a drainage hole. Now, I thought I'd plant some of the wellies up with some strawberries because children, if you want to get them involved in gardening, give them something that they can eat or looks really pretty or something that's sort of sensory, so maybe mint because of the smell. And the great thing about putting mint in a container is it stops it from runnering all around the garden. So you can see these runners already coming out of the pot. So it just contains it. So I think these will look quite cute, either hung up on the side of the shed or on a shelf. But first of all, I need to put some holes in there. So these are moisture retention crystals that you mix in with your potting compost, and it basically means it will hold on to more water in the potting compost. And if the compost does dry out, when you come to water it, it gets wet much more easily. And with any container, what you want to make sure is that you leave about 1 centimetre or 2 centimetre gap so that when you pour the water in, it doesn't fall out over the top and wash all the compost out.
Charlie's wellies will be part of a play wall for the twins. Anything from old toy cars, tea sets, and even toy bricks can be used to make kid-friendly plant pots. Tragically, before work on the garden started, Arvinda lost his mum, so the boys also include a tribute to her in their design.
Right. This family's been through some really tough times recently, and having a garden in which they can remember their loved ones is going to be really important to them. We've already got the 3 cherry trees to symbolise the 3 children, and they're going to look beautiful. But we felt it was really important to put something in the garden that gives Arvinda the chance to remember and symbolise his mother.
They've gone for a gorgeous Japanese maple and are planting it as a focal point at the back of the plot.
Yay! Good work, Dave.
Picking a memorial tree is a very personal choice, But a Japanese maple or acer like this one is a perennial favourite, as are oaks, rowans and flowering dogwoods.
We've chosen the Acer Osakazuki for a couple of reasons. First of all, it loves a sheltered spot, and at the back of the garden here, we've got this high wall which protects it from winds and direct sunlight because their leaves are really fragile. And secondly, it's got this amazing vivid autumn colour. So, you know, a view from the kitchen back to this tree is just going to create a lovely focal feature.
The brothers are weaving flowering plants through the grasses, such as astrantias and dahlias. They'll provide colour from spring to autumn and add rhythm and unity to the new outside room. They're low maintenance as well. They'll bloom reliably every year, and all Yolanda and Avinda need to do is chop them down every autumn. The garden really is taking shape now. The decks are in place, and Lee's been keeping himself busy. He's making an L-shaped bench that's a perfect fit for the new deck.
So Lee's built the bench out of the same Western red cedar as the decking, so it really has that nice continual flow, makes it feel like a little bit bespoke, and kind of like an interior as well, so gorgeous.
Only the finishing touches remain to be completed. Thea lays the new lawn for the children's play area. Charlie tidies up around the base of the newly planted acer.
And with a final whack from the vibrating plate, this garden is done. Arvinda and Yolanda's garden was once an unkempt jungle, home to weeds and a washing line. Now it is transformed into a tranquil therapeutic oasis. From the pretty little welly planters to the elegant Japanese acer and beautiful multi-stemmed cherry trees that pay tribute to family members living and lost.
3, 2, 1, open your eyes.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Stunning.
And what's so nice about the position here is you are in the centre of the garden,
Yeah.
and you're nicely situated between the 3 Tibetan cherries to symbolise the 3 children.
That's lovely. One of them is Jace, the other one is Oscar and Bella. They will see them growing.
Yeah, yeah.
Jace also, but from a different place.
We've got a Japanese maple there to memorialise your mother.
Yeah, we thank you so very much because it's a very touching thing that you've done there.
Thank you so much.
It's an absolute pleasure. I mean, it is a garden for the whole family.
Yeah. They're a family that I'll never forget. They were lovely.
Wonderful, but they've definitely been through quite a lot, haven't they?
Yeah, so hopefully the garden, you know, along with those 3 special trees, can bring them some comfort.
Yeah, that's a great thing about a garden, you know. It's great for you mentally, but also if you can get out in the garden physically and get out there and do things. But you can also make a garden accessible to anyone.
Yep.
So do you remember Pauline's garden in West Brom?
Yeah.
That garden needed to be made accessible.
It did.
Our next therapeutic top of the plots belonged to Pauline and was an overgrown mass of weeds.
There's bushes, brambles, stinging nettles, everything out there. But at the moment, I can't do anything with it apart from look at it.
Her dream was to tame the jungle outside her back door and turn it into a space where she could grow fruit and veg without aggravating her hay fever. But more importantly, the garden needed to be accessible for her wheelchair-bound mum.
My mum lives in London, but she does come and visit on a regular basis. So obviously it would be great to be able to take her outside into the garden where it's wheelchair accessible, because normally when she does come, unfortunately, it is a bit of a struggle for me to get her into the garden.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Pauline went for the brothers' plan to take her overrun garden and turn it into an access all areas space with hay fever-friendly planting.
So we wanted to bring out this large deck that runs out onto this wheelchair-friendly gravel.
Yeah.
It's going to be a garden that's going to work for you, be a nice social space, but also work with your allergies as well.
Okay. Perfect.
The landscaping team face one of their biggest clear-up jobs ever.
Wow, look at that. That's crazy, isn't it? Like, properly out of control.
First things first, the Herculean task of removing the long grass before bossman Andy can map out the garden's wheelchair-accessible features.
Gruff and I are just digging out this area here because the deck's got to be level with the bottom of the door of the house, which means it's got to come up 250 millimetres.
One of the reasons Pauline chose the boys' design was because it allows her and her mum to get to all areas of the garden. And David gets busy preparing the way.
I'm down at the bottom of the garden, just raking out and levelling where the path is going to go. And it was really crucial to draw the path all the way from the top of the garden down into the back. Now, we've got the beautiful canopy of the damson tree here overhead, and that would have been a lovely backdrop and a full stop to the garden. But what's going to make it feel that much longer and that much more inviting is actually if we drag the path through it to create that lovely bit of mystery of what's at the bottom of the garden. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to cut out a little bit of an archway in it. It's going to make it that much more inviting and accessible. And then that draws you down into this levelled space back here. So it's really easy to see where the path starts and also where it ends.
Once they are marked out, the walkways are covered with a weed-suppressing membrane to stop the troublesome grass that had taken over from reappearing. The garden and decking are beginning to take shape, and Charlie stumbled across an upcycling treasure in the shed.
Look what we've just found! Da, 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 da. Hello!
Right, isn't it?
It is, but I thought it could maybe make it plant it up or reflect the light or...
Yeah.
But I'll need to protect this, won't I? Just in case it breaks. Now, I do need to think about this. Initial thought, make it into a, like, low table with some planting round. But then it would almost look, if you got plants round overhanging, it'd almost look like a reflective pool. And it's going to reflect the clouds and the sunshine. Could look very pretty.
The gravel that will make the garden path more accessible for Pauline's mum has arrived, and Harry turns his attention to fruit trees.
Yeah, Mr. Bramley, looking gorgeous, slightly gnarled, just how an apple tree should be. So I'm going to find a nice home for him. Oh! Watch your back, Rosie, didn't we?
Bramley number 2, coming through.
Meanwhile, Andy's made small planters for Charlie's upcycled mirror table, while she protects the glass with a clear film which will hold it together should it break. Now she gets stuck into adding hay fever-friendly plants.
I'm planting it up, just simple planters with woolly thyme, because that, again, has quite a low pollen count, so it's quite good for sort of allergy sufferers. Then I've also got some beautiful dianthus, again, low in pollen, high in scent, smells of cloves, absolutely yummy, and it's edible. You can eat the petals, and they taste quite nice.
Should be about it, won't it?
Lovely.
3, 2. No. Gorgeous.
They look good, don't they?
Really, really nice. So it's one of the key things that Pauline wanted in the design was these raised beds, and that's to contain vegetables. She loves the idea of growing them, but in really manageable beds. We've got them 400 millimetres high. Now, that isn't too high. You don't need it any higher necessarily. But the key reason for that is that if Helen, so Pauline's mum, ever comes over, it means that she can come down here and actually get involved. So there's no excuse.
With the deck complete and the hard-bound gravel paths ready, it just takes a final flurry of planting. And from Pauline's overgrown jungle, a pristine and fully accessible garden has emerged.
3, 2, 1, open your eyes.
Oh, my gosh! Wow! Wow!
It's different, isn't it?
I'm speechless for once.
Nice, we'll remember that.
It's amazing. Oh, my gosh, I feel like I'm going to cry, but I'm not going to cry.
You can if you want.
It's the hay fever.
Really loved that garden. Now, if you do struggle with some of the more physical activities in the garden, don't worry, there are loads of gadgets out on the market that are going to help you. Now, this one I've got here looks kind of like a pallet truck. I'm going to just slip that thing over down there, hook it on nice and tight, and then it's just a great way at moving heavier pots. It means you can just wheel them away at your leisure.
Well, that's definitely going to save your back, but this is also going to help. And this is on wheels, pretty much just a seat on wheels, and it means that you can tend to the planting beds. You know, we all spend a lot of time tending to our plants, the fronts of borders, maybe neatening it up, or just getting in and doing a bit of weeding. So this is a great way of just moving about freely, and maybe even a nice bit of storage underneath for your secateurs. And then this here is like a grab arm. And again, you're just saving your back. It just means you don't have to always be bending over to pick things up.
And then a nice alternative to the standard trowel is this guy here. This is going to help put a little less strain on your wrist when you're digging, just because of the angle of the handle. So all these gadgets are really helpful, and hopefully will just allow you to go out, be free in your own garden.
Our final top of the plot's therapeutic garden was for Tony and Christine, whose lives had not been the same since they were both shot in the Tunisian terror attacks in 2015.
Tony, do you want a cup of tea?
Yes, please.
Because she's still on crutches, Christine couldn't use their lumpy, bumpy front garden.
I love gardening. I always have, and I find it really relaxing. With my injuries now, I'm not able to get out and do the work I used to do in the garden, which I miss dreadfully.
Christine's dream was an accessible garden where she could sit and tinker or watch the birds.
Chris, Tony.
Hi, Charlie.
Charlie's design won with easy-to-negotiate walkways and plenty of places to perch and potter.
We're going to have patio areas down to a seating area here.
With access being priority number one, the team's first job is to remove the mossy lawn and lay concrete paths seeded with aggregate, making attractive walkways that are solid underfoot.
Throw it and sweep, a sweeping action.
Seating was also high on Christine and Tony's wish list, so Harry gets started on the garden's standout feature, a dry stone wall bench.
Right then, you. That's the seat bit, is it?
Yes. A nice, intimate seat.
Right, OK, and that's looking right up there.
Yeah. Nice.
I'm quite excited by this.
I'm excited by this. It's a good project for me today.
You like dry stone walling, don't you?
Yeah,
we get space.
Any excuse to put my overalls on?
Romper suit, not overalls.
Romper suit.
Harry digs a trench where the bench will sit. It's filled with concrete and the footing can go in. The largest, chunkiest stones need to go at the bottom to give the wall strength. But to save on stone, he's also supporting it with breeze blocks.
Because the back of this wall is going to be covered by this soil, it seems a waste to actually use this gorgeous stone. So what I'm doing is I'm placing blocks on their side, and this is going to give that lovely bit of stability, but also when it's covered up, you won't even know it's there.
As Christine can't walk far, Charlie's also making simple perching seats for her.
Maybe if we could put one here, just literally plank, 2 posts, plank, 2 posts, yeah?
Easy.
At different heights. So if we have this one slightly lower and that one higher, because she could actually just bring a table and sit here and pot up on the higher one.
Yeah.
These are the legs for the first perching seat. Got a nice bit of oak.
Charlie's perching spots are coming together.
That's it. Look at that. Ideal.
And over at the bench, Harry needs David's help.
Nice. So that'll be fixed in, though. So
Screw down on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, ideal. Whoa. Look at that. A lovely spot to perch. Look back at the rest of the garden.
Keen to maximise on the therapeutic benefits of wildlife, Charlie wants to make sure birds flock to the garden.
Whose window are you peeping in there? Let me have a look.
Not peeping, no. It's bird feeder.
Oh, look at that.
I'm thinking when bad weather, Chris and Tony sat inside looking at the gorgeous garden, but, you know, the birds will come along onto the... Tony has to hop on their feed.
Oh, nice bit of foreground.
Talking of birdies, and I'm not talking golf here, I'm talking bird nesting boxes.
Yep.
Do you fancy making some up for me?
Yeah,
or at least
together.
one.
You'll like that.
And...
Manage expectations, very good,
Yeah.
very key.
And I've got a couple of teapots.
Ooh, perfect. I love a good brew. Bit of thinking time, strategise, like it. See ya.
No, it's meant to be for the robins, not you.
Oh, love it.
I think that fell on deaf ears.
Of course I know that robins love to nest in teapots. And the reason for that is that they're wide enough, nice and cosy, but also they've got a big enough opening. So it's really easy for them to get in, and that's what they like. But one of the key things about a teapot is it's designed, so obviously when you're pouring out the tea bag stays in there. So that's a key thing. So it allows water out, anything that gets in there allows it to drain, but fundamentally it keeps the nesting material in there, so they can keep it nice and cosy, and it's a nice little snug home for them to nest in. So all I've got to do is attach it.
Autumn is the best time of year to put up nest boxes. And whether you buy or go for David's DIY version, avoid brightly coloured ones as they can attract predators.
Ideal, here we go, I found them some old stems from stipper grass. Nice and warm, nice and dry, you can insulate them even in the cold, cold nights. So just rip that up, nice and soft, and then put it in. What's great about using teapots is they're really cheap, really easy to attach, but also very easy to replace the bedding. Ooh, look at that, cosy.
The old, uneven lawn prevented Christine from using her garden. But now the whole plot has been transformed into an easily accessible space. Their feathered friends are catered for. The beautiful dry stone wall bench and perching spots will allow Christine to enjoy her garden once more.
Oh my goodness. Oh, it's beautiful. I mean, everything. I just can't imagine. And it's all just blended in with the driveway and...
Bird feed the water and...
I know, love.
And now she and Tony can begin to reap the full therapeutic benefit of their gorgeous garden.
This is going to change my life completely. And the last nearly 3 years, I've been cooped up in the house, recovering from operation after operation. And this has just opened up my life now. I can carry on, you know, where I left off.
They loved that garden, and it meant so much to them. And after everything they've been through, they're going to really enjoy it.
Absolutely. I loved all the little bits in there, from the path surface to the perching benches. They're really going to help Christine get around the garden.
Yeah, I think it's such a privilege to be able to create these therapeutic gardens for people that you know they're going to love and cherish for a long time.
Well, we do hope you've enjoyed a look back at some of our favourite therapeutic gardens.
And we look forward to seeing you next time for some more Top of the Plots.